Getting down to business, presenting my professional goals. The four disciplines of execution really helped me gain a better understanding of what I needed to do in my work life. The Department of Movement Sciences is always getting a project or getting something new assigned to us. And so it definitely is a struggle balancing those day-to-day operations with those projects, those deadlines, those goals that we need to meet. The four disciplines, as I said, really helped me get a better understanding and clear view of what I should be doing. And as we go through this slideshow, I'll kind of lay out what my thought process is and how it helps me. So, like as I said, let's get down to business. A few definitions to help us along the way. Now, I know we went through this in the book, but I just wanted to re-show them and so that we have a better understanding so we can go through with what we need to talk about. First, a wildly important goal, or a WIG. There are 1 to 2 wildly important goals or projects that you or your team should focus on within your organization. I loved what the authors talked about in that we shouldn't focus on more than 1 to 2 wildly important goals at a time. Leaders are ambitious. We want to leave our mark. We want to do as much as we can when we can, and that's the precedence and that's the perspective that we've built up. One of the concepts that we learned is in this course is that we want to make ourselves stand out so that we're remembered and that someone sees us as a leader and they go to us. We don't want to be forgotten. And so one way to do that is to tackle as many goals and to accomplish as much as we want. Don't do that. 1 to 2. They're WIGs. Now the whirlwind. Those are our day-to-day operations of our jobs. So in my case, scheduling courses, assigning course fees, marketing materials, talking to students, issuing overrides. So what we would normally do amidst our WIG. Our lag measure. This is compared to our WIG. It's the measure of improvement or our progress within our organization, i.e. we're putting X% more of Y than before. One example that I can think of is we have increased our operations from 50% to 90% over a course of 4 months. And then our lead measure. There are measures that predict our lag measure and can be influenced by ourselves. Example being going to the gym or eating healthier to achieve that weight loss that we want. Now, what is my wildly important goal? At first, I wasn't sure what a WIG was. Believe it or not, I honestly thought it was something similar to like the NPI or some inventory test. Clearly, I was wrong. So, in thinking about what my WIG was, there were too many goals that I actually accomplish or try to accomplish in my line of work. What could be so wildly important that I could focus all of my time on it? Now, my position, I work with the athletic training program. I'm their admin assistant, and it dawned on me that the fall is one of our busiest recruiting periods of the year. We haven't updated our flyers in maybe a year. My predecessor was the last one to build the flyers and to kind of put everything together. And we send out mass emails. We go on recruiting events. We talk to students. We send these flyers out, and they haven't been updated. So, with that information and with that knowledge, my wildly important goal is to finish the athletic training program flyers by the end of the semester, or December 16th. But what are my lag measures, and what are my lead measures? So as I said, a lag measure is compared to the WIG, or it's something that is measured by the actual completion of the goal. In this case, it would be to finish the athletic training flyers and having them complete for the DAT, MSAT, 3+2, and iSmart Clinic by that December 16th deadline. Now the lead measures were a little more tricky. I It definitely made me think about what I could do to influence that lag measure or to get to that goal. Something that I thought of was setting benchmarks for progress each day, week, or etc. until the flyers are complete. As simple as that sounds, there's a lot that goes into it. You're going to get a rough sense of, what is 10%, 25%, 75%, 100% of the flyers or 100% of your goal uh, and when it's going to be complete. Setting those benchmarks, they are subjective, yes, but again, it shows you your progress. So I did identify a couple of issues with my lead measures. As I've said, they must be predictable, and they should be influenced by you. So is my lead measure predictable? Well, with each benchmark, it predicts that I'm one step closer to completing the flyers as a whole. Example being, if I complete the 3 plus 2 flyer, and then I go on to the MSAT flyer, and I'm about 25% done, that predicts that, if I keep at a steady pace, I should be done by December 16th. Easy enough. Now, is my lead measure influenced by me? Well, of course. I can set my own benchmarks, I can work at my own pace, and I can put as much effort into the flyers as I need in order to complete my goal. But see, the issue that I found here was I have assigned tasks throughout the day that call my attention away from the flyers, that maybe I can't work on them. Uh, One example is that on September 16th, all of the scheduling for the courses throughout our program, or throughout our department, I apologize, throughout our department, so like our health and safety courses, our PEAT courses, our physical education courses, those were due by 5 o'clock, no later, since the scheduling system went down after 5. I had to focus my time and energy onto that. So there's going to be things that pull me away from actually working on it that mean that the lead measure is less influenced by me because I'm not working on it. I can't set those benchmarks. I can't progress further. As I said in the slide earlier, uh, benchmarks are a little subjective. So what I think is progress might not necessarily be progress to the athletic training faculty. Now, for argument's sake, we're going to say that the lead measure is influenced by me and that I don't have assigned tasks, or those are minimal, or I can put them aside. Now, how do I get myself and my team involved? Well, by creating a scoreboard. It shows the progress, similar to a football game in their scoreboard. It lays out details in a way that is easy to understand and comprehend within seconds, and it's not too difficult and shouldn't have too much information. Now, for my program, for the athletic training program, I think an effective scoreboard for us is in the form of graphs. A lot of our faculty do research and do graphs in SPSS and AMOS and SAS, and so they're constantly creating visual representations of their data. And that's something that athletic training does a lot too. We need some sort of visual representation to show, this mulligan effort or this mulligan therapy technique is, advancing in this, and here's the data to show it. And something that's pretty and something that's easy to understand for everyone. So the graphs map out the overall progress as well as the individual progress, which is what I've designed in the slides to come. So here's our first graph. As you can tell, it is finishing the athletic training program, or finishing the athletic training flyers. So this is as a whole. We have the anticipated progress down here in purple, going up as a straight line, and then the progress as an average on the athletic training flyers as the blue line, or as a line that's clearly crooked. Now, how I did the average was I kind of set myself benchmarks and said, okay, on this day I should have this, and this day I should have this. As we go through these graphs, I want you to keep in mind that it's just an estimate. It's not actual progress, especially because the week of December 12th hasn't happened yet. The week of December 5th hasn't happened yet. Overall, you can see that at November 7th, I was pretty above where I should be. I think that I was about 25% done with all the flyers, and I should have been 18. But as we progress, I am below the anticipated progress. Looking at this tells me that I need to pick it up somewhere, or maybe something's not clicking well. And as we look at some of the other graphs and some of the other slides, you'll see that progress. So here's measuring the 3+2 progress. Now you'll notice on your left-hand side, we do have kind of an incremental increase. So by the 7th, I should be 18% done. By the 14th, I should be 30% done. By the 21st, 50%, a little over 60, and so on and so forth until I hit 100 on the week of December 12th, or by the 16th. Now for the 3+2 program, it was easy because I had already completed that. We had a retention event down at LCSC in Lewiston on the week of the 7th, and so I had to get that flyer done. So I had 100%. It does make it a little easier for me since I only have to focus on 3 flyers now instead of 4. Here is what the flyer does look like. Just to give you all a representation, it was based on the University of Idaho's Visual Identity Guide, which tells you, color schemes, fonts. It actually gives you an example of what an admissions or a recruiting flyer should look like. And so I just based it off of that. And as I said, it does make it a little easier because now I can focus on 3 instead of 4. And it could shift my lead measures and my benchmarks a little bit. For argument's sake, I made it so it didn't as much, but in my day-to-day, it could. Now here's the measuring for the MSAT progress. Again, it's the same on the left. On the right, you'll notice that it's definitely different than the 3+2 programs. So on November 7th and November 14th, I've got a little bit of progress done, and that's because I actually started the MSAT flyer prior to the 3+2 program. This is what I was talking about, that is my lead measure, is the setting the benchmarks as influenced by myself as it could be. I had to stop on the MSAT flyer so I could do the 3+2 program flyer. This wasn't influenced by me because there was an outside external stimulus that was pushing onto the situation for me. I had to get the 3+2 done for that event, which meant I had to stop on the MSAT progress. It would be interesting to kind of navigate and find that balance of working on goals within your WIG or working on those commitments, which, as you'll see later in the slide, I've kind of laid out a possible solution. But what does happen when you have one WIG, but within that WIG you have those mini WIGs? How do those interact, or how do those fit onto the other? Definitely a little more exploring could be done. Again, for argument's sake and for the presentation, we're going to pretend that it doesn't. Here's the DAT progress. You'll notice on the 7th and the 14th, I don't have any progress done, but my anticipated progress, or what I would like to see by the 21st, the 28th, and so on and so forth, is that incremental progress until we hit 100%. I'm going to focus a lot of time on the DAT and the iSmart clinic, which is in the next slide, after I get a lot of the MSAT flyers done. Going back, you'll see. And then here is for the iSmart clinic. Again, it's the same as the DAT. I haven't started, so it does leave me at a little bit of a disadvantage. And why on that overall flyer, let's see. Right here, I am below. So it's something to acknowledge, and it's something to work through and to work with a program. Get back to the current. All right, so something that I did to make sure that the scoreboards were as clear as possible is to kind of look at the characteristics that were laid out by the authors. As discussed on page 70, we look at these to make sure the scoreboard is something that's effective. Is it simple? Well, in order for a scoreboard to be effective, it has to be simple. Take for example the football scoreboard, or the football example that the authors talk about. The scoreboard shows 6 essential characteristics: the time, the yards, the down, the players slash who has the ball, the score. This gives the players on the field as well as the spectators something to acknowledge, and a visual representation of what is going on, what is happening. While the coach might have more information, what's displayed to the team, or what are displayed to the players within this uh, scoring, has to be simple. Now, my graphs, it is something simple. You look at it and you know what's going on. You know that, okay, we have X amount of time to complete these 4 flyers. Now, can I see it? Can I see it easily? Well, of course I can see it easily. I'm the one who created them. But can the athletic training faculty see it easily? Something that the authors talked about was making sure that it's in a position or in a situation that it can be seen by all. In my case, we're going to for argument's sake, say that all the athletic training faculty have these graphs and they display them on their whiteboards in their offices. Whether it be printouts, or maybe they have pictures on their computers, or maybe they've actually drawn it out on their whiteboard. As the authors say, visibility of the scoreboards holds for accountability, because you can look at it and you can say, am I winning? Am I losing? Can I see this easily? Can I acknowledge when the week of the 12th comes that I am where I should be? It holds you accountable, it holds me accountable, and it holds the faculty accountable. So does it show lead and lag measures? Well, of course, and that's why I created the 4 separate graphs outside of the total athletic training flyer graph. It shows you the progress as a whole, as well as the progress on each and every flyer. Can I tell at a glance if I'm winning? Yes. Even if you don't acknowledge the dates or which flyer goes to which graph, you can still see that on the left it's anticipated, on the right it should look as close to that as possible. And even at the full athletic training graph, you can tell that the predicted straight line and the actual curved line should be close. And you can tell, well, I'm below, or I haven't started, or X, Y, and Z is missing. If the left doesn't look as close to the right, something's wrong. What the authors talk about is the 5-second rule, or the concept of, and within 5 seconds, can you tell if you're winning or if you're losing? And if you can't, it's not an effective scoreboard. And that's something that I really tried to implement into my scoreboards, was that 5 seconds, can you tell, looking at it, does A equal B? If not, let's figure out why, and let's do some more investigating. Now, how to hold ourselves accountable for that progress. Holding WIG sessions, or holding meetings with those who should be holding you accountable and who you should be holding accountable with. Weekly meetings that go over the progress. They should be no more than 20 to 30 minutes, as the authors were discussing. And I completely agree with that. The human mind can only pay attention for so long, which is why a lot of classes are only 15 minutes. There's only so much that attention that a human mind can concentrate on before it starts, either retaining too much information, or it starts trying to backtrack, things like that. 20 to 30 minutes, and it should only be discussing your goals. It shouldn't be discussing the whirlwind. Save that for separate meetings. And a good plan, as what the authors talked about, and what we actually do in our department, is to have a follow-up to discuss those whirlwind items separate from your goals. So you're giving 2 separate efforts and 2 separate attentions to these meetings. And it should be structured. On the next slide, you'll see here that I've kind of done a WIG session agenda. It starts off with it lists the 3 categories that the authors recommend. Progress commitments achieved during X week. So you list out, on the week of the 21st, we had the commitments that will complete the 3+2 program flyer. We'll work on the MSAT flyer, and that we haven't started on the DAT. and we just kind of list out like what are the commitments we've done and did we achieve them? And if we didn't, well, we can work on that. Reviewing the scoreboard. Okay, look, we've completed this program. You're good. Ideally, we'll start working on the MSAT flyer. We can improve here, here, and here. Remember on the overall graph, we were lower on the actual than we should have been on the anticipated. We can ask ourselves, how can we improve? Where can we improve? Well, maybe taking time away from the office, maybe more commitment on X items, maybe actually starting the DAT and MSAT or iSmart flyers. And that's when we lead into the commitments part. And we list out at the end of our meeting, what will be our commitments for this upcoming week? We should start on the DAT and iSmart Clinic flyers. We should achieve X% on these 2 flyers. We should finish these flyers, or we should work on these. Maybe we can include placeholders, identify what benchmarks we should be working on. And then ask those questions. AT program, you're holding me accountable for this by a meeting. But on the reverse side, the AT program should be saying, what can we do as a program to help you achieve those benchmarks? And that's when you can kind of say, okay, these are your commitments for these weeks and what we should be working on. Now, another thing that I did was actually created a calendar to kind of block off those times. As you can see at 10:30, I have a staff meeting with everyone in the front office. So ideally, before that, I should have a WIG meeting with ET faculty to kind of discuss that WIG so that I'm not focusing that attention in my staff meeting. And then I've blocked off commitment times for those flyers, ideally in the afternoon, because one of the things on the agenda, and I don't know if you'll notice, under reviewing the scoreboard is time away from the office. In the afternoon, there's an available office that a faculty member doesn't use. So the AT program can help me and hold me accountable by letting me use that office that I can work on the flyers. Usually the faculty member's out at 11, and so I can start, using the office at 11. And I can block out those times. Make it different. Don't set a routine, but set commitment time blocks. Easy enough. With the 4 disciplines and really identifying, the leaders and the leadership skills and the potentials and the idea that, we shouldn't be doing a lot of goals. We should be focusing on one goal. There's only so much that we can do. Instilling accountability measures and saying we're the leaders and we should help our organization. We should help our followers. All of that could make our department stronger. And throughout this presentation, having that visual representation of what is going on, what should go on, and what should work, really gives me faith that, as a department, we could be instilling this thing. We could be working with this to improve our progress, to be a better department, to be a better office environment, to be the leaders within the college that we can as a whole. Because when one part of the department succeeds, the whole department succeeds, and then the whole college succeeds. Thank you for sitting with me through my presentation. I hope you enjoyed, and have a great night.